We've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is that we do have Dan and Denise from Lodge of Whispering Pines who are going to talk to us about their enormous solar system and batteries that's been so successful and makes us all so envious. But we do not have Orlin Kringstad from Tower, who's developing this villages at Vermilion villages, some combination, where he's using solar in a totally different way. He's using solar to heat water, to heat the houses. And these are fancy buildings that got shipped from Norway, and I'm sure he's bursting keen to tell us all. But he's got the flu, and so I'm very glad that he's not here coughing all over us. And we'll reschedule him sometime for later during the day. So I want to welcome everybody, and I hope that you enjoy being here at the Ely Community Center and advertise on their behalf that they, of course, are a nonprofit, and like all nonprofits, are short of money. And you can join if you wish. It's $20 for an annual membership, and there are envelopes out in the hallway here. So if you want to pick one up and put a $20 bill in it and put it in the bill over there, then you're a member, and we'll all be very happy. So that would be great. Okay, so this is where we are and what we're doing. And thank you. I just had to put this in because, you know, some of us watched the 50 years ago, the show that they put on 50 years ago. It's just so nice to see that it wasn't a one-off, and there is an Earth setting behind the moon. So I hope everybody watched it. This organization is now run by Ely Community Center. Tara Borst heads their board. And Tara is a many-skilled person. She put this together for us for our Facebook ads. So you may see this again. But I was just amazed that out of the blue, she assembled this. And then she assembled this. Ely Climate Group is trying to convince as many Ely businesses and nonprofits that they can get a free energy assessment through the state, through an organization called RETAP, which sends out retired engineers and will look at your property and your energy use and give you a full report. And the whole thing is totally free. They will tell you that you need to replace your windows or your furnace or your thermostat or you're good to go or whatever. They'll give you a full analysis, and you have no obligation to do any of those things. And they'll give you a feeling for how much it will cost and what the payback time would be. So we're trying to do this. I mentioned this to Tara, and she said, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea. We have a board meeting tomorrow." So she took it to her board meeting. She made this flyer for us. Her board said, "Yes, that's a good thing." And she called RETAP right away. And so it's all scheduled for this building. This building that we're in is going to be audited. It's been part of the process in this building. In 2012, the state was involved with putting those solar panels on the south wall. So they've had some interactions with them before. In any case, I just want to advertise for the community center and for Tara because they've just done a fabulous job. And then a little bit of bookkeeping. Today we have Dan and Denise, but we do not have Orlin. sadly. Next month, we have Keith Steva, who's setting up a system to recover precious metals from old circuit boards without using heat or noxious chemicals. It's all grinding them up and separating them from their physical or magnetic properties. So he's going to tell us all about this. So we don't have to dig up the earth in order to get copper and silver and such like. Then we get, in June, we get Andreas Strom and talking about how to live green, and Steve Paragas about his experiences with solar in Ely, going back many years. And then in July, we've got Aaron Kanya, who's our candidate for House District 3A. So we're really happy to have the schedule filled up like this. And if you've got some ideas about who else we should invite, please let us know. So we'll go ahead with it. And then on Thursday of this week, at 5 o'clock in City Hall, the Ely Green team is meeting to talk about the next steps for the Ely Green Step program. And that's an open meeting, so you're all invited. Anybody? All right, so let's welcome Dan and Denise from Whispering Pines. I had to look up where it is. It's way the hell up the Echo Trail. And here's what the maps look like. Thank you. That's excellent. And this is why they're here. You can just see 4 monster solar arrays down there at the bottom. And if you're wondering where it is, this is where it is. So it is a ways up, and thank you for driving all the way south. We hope you stop at the post office.
They say, when I see people in town, they say, well, I haven't seen you for a while. And I went, that's right, I live in the woods.
It's been 3 months?
Yeah. My closest year-round neighbor is Will Steger.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
on the last flow right now.
Yeah.
So here comes your slides.
Excellent.
And do you want to talk from there, or do you want to come and stand up here and be?
Name on the table, dude.
He might start to dance.
Well, I would, yeah.
These field analysts, here's
You have the clicker?
No, you'll
No.
have to tell me, and I'll
Okay,
switch
yeah,
it
we
for
can
you.
just go right from here, Barb. This is comfortable.
All right.
So first off, let me introduce myself and my partner, Denise Myers, and my name is Dan Poole. And as you found out there, we own the Lodge of Whispering Pines and Echo Trail Outfitters. So it's been quite a run up there too. Both Denise and I arrived at the property about the same time. This will be our 5th summer. And when we arrived there, they were burning the standard 60 kW diesel burning generator.
That's big.
That big, and it was kind of oversized. And they had 2 of them. They had an old John Deere model in there, and then a new Kubota model that was in. But we were burning about 1 gallon an hour. And that first year, 5 years ago, coming up, the fuel oil had spiked. And so, of course, I've been in business. I've had other businesses, and Denise has been in business, and it was like, oh my goodness. And an average resort uses annually about $12,000 in electricity. And of course, depending on the size, but that's a pretty good, about $1,000 a month. And we were using $30,000 to turn just the lights on. So and so when we arrived, immediately we saw that, well, this is a great application for solar. And Denise and I, we started, kind of scratching our heads, And a fellow showed up, his name is Tom Strong. And, kind of a moment of silence for Tom, if anybody knows him. He passed away. He was a good friend of Will Steegers. That's how I'm connected with Will. A little bit is through Tom, because Tom brought Will a lot of his solar program out there, and Tom came out to the lodge, and he works on some of the solar properties, the solar arrays that are on the lake by some of the other off-grid people. There's a community out there, and you might know Steve Snyder. He chairs part of the Save the Boundary Waters. That's one of the groups. But Tom came to the resort, and he knew Denise and I from the past, and he says, "You've got to put in solar." And we were like, "Yes, we do." Anything. And so Tom was really, he had worked with Dan Churchill, who was one of the previous owners of the Lodge of Whispering Pines. And Dan and his family, they were heavy lifters. They did a lot of work out there. Put a lot of cabins, a lot just really helped, as everybody has at the resort. So Tom inspired us to move forward, and that's how we got started.
I should know, I go up there all the time, or, several times in the summer. There's 2 resorts on that lake.
Yep.
Are you the first one or the second?
First.
Okay. I just want to I kind of thought so, but I was.
Yep. We're silently, you might say, celebrating our 100-year anniversary. The lodge itself was built in 1926. And it is a beautiful lodge. I wish I had a picture here. I should have been, but it's just gorgeous. You can go on our website and look it up, Lodge of Whispering Pines. And I had lived in a log home similar to that on Birdside Lake, but so Whispering Pines, Tom got us started, and it took 3 years to get our insulation.
Oh, probably from the time that we started applying for the grants. And then what you see right there is our first step. We hadn't yet gotten our solar field. So we got our battery system in so we could cut down on using the generator. And that was huge. We went from running the generator 24 hours a day to running it 4 to 6, depending on the time of the year that it was and how many guests were there. That got installed in September of 2024.
Those all batteries there?
Yep.
Okay.
Except for the 2 inverters on the very top.
Okay.
We have 10 batteries, and every 2 run off of a different solar panel that we have. The picture that she showed was at the very beginning too, when this first got put up. We only had 4 up, and they weren't really working yet with the solar system. Now we have 6 of them up. They're all fully working. We had them up, in, and functioning by December 27th of 2024. So we actually got to go from that day to about the 7th of January without turning on any generator. Then it was just him and I there, so we only had to run it for about a half an hour just to get it up so we could use it, and then it would go for another week and a half. By doing that, it allowed us to start opening up and offering winter camping and winter cabins. We're not completely open because we only have a couple of cabins that can stay that warm at 40 below zero.
Go ahead, and so just to chime in. So that what we're on that, there's 148 kilowatts of storage in those batteries, and those batteries are lithium ion batteries, state of the art, versus the lead acid. And we were tried. Somebody said, "Well, you have to use lead acid," and that was actually a discussion with Tom Strong, because Tom has been doing this like the Paragus for a long time. Where I'm a newbie in all of this. I wanted to go state of the art, and so Denise and I chose the lithium ion batteries, and we're pleased to date.
Is that the same as they call it lithium iron, lithium iron?
No, it's a little different.
Okay.
Yeah, it's different. There's our solar array. And Denise, you can tell them a little bit about how we discovered our solar array. Because we were told to go out on December 21st, right? That's winter solstice, as everybody here knows that very well. And so that is the day that you want to walk out and see where the little sun is shining on that little window of time in northern Minnesota. And Denise,
Yeah, they told us that it would be best viewed here or there on the roofs of the cabins, and that's not a really pretty look, especially when you're out on the lake fishing on a remote
Yeah.
wilderness area. Nobody wants to pull up and see how beautiful your cabin is or see your solar panels, and if we can hide them, that's what everybody on the lake has done. Great job of hiding their cabins so you don't see it. You can enjoy the aesthetics of the nature as opposed to their house. So on the 21st of 2023, I was there alone, you were working someplace, and there wasn't any place. So my dogs and I started walking, and right underneath those pine trees, there was a little light shining through.
Huh.
And so I just watched it, and for about 2 hours, there was light there. So we knew where it would have to go, and then we had to contact the state for them to come and do an archaeological dig just to make sure there wasn't something previously in the ground. Luckily, it's all rock, so there wasn't anything there. And it wouldn't have been around one of the normal paths they would have been using at the time to travel back and forth during the season and hunting grounds. And that's the picture when we got done that first year, right after we've got the other 2 panels up in February of 2024.
I have trouble getting the scale of the size. How big are those panels?
they're huge.
Each one of it, there's 4 up and 6 across.
Go ahead,
Those
yeah,
little
they're-
ones are 4 foot. And so, yeah, that's them putting on the top of it, but
That's
so,
like the awning over a gas station.
yes,
Yeah,
that's
well,
exactly it.
they're very, very
They are
hard.
huge,
It's-
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are
and
these-
92 panels total in here, and that system. So remember, I said that we had a 60 kW generator. That's a 38 kW solar array,
Oh.
and it'll work at about 80% capacity is what we get out. So we're pumping on a good, nice summer day. I'll read it. It'll be 30, 32 kW, which that's a lot, because the resort itself on an active day is using about 6K when we have, and our use is higher in the winter. It's, we use more, well, like everybody, you use more energy because we're using it for.
Lights
Yeah,
on longer.
Lights are on longer, but more so because where we are, we're built on a rock, like all of Ely is built on a rock. And we can't get down to 6 foot to bury our water lines. So then we have to turn on a heat, and it's all inline heat tape. So it's we're running 1-inch black poly on our plumbing system, and it's internal.
Oh,
It goes internal, and it's a UL approved, and it's out of Canada, and it costs a lot of dollars per foot. And then when you turn it on, you just, and it drains them, it'll hit them batteries hard, you know.
How do you heat the cabins?
Propane and wood, yeah, that's all propane and wood is what we did. And of course, I thought about one of these big wood burners that they have, but I haven't gotten to that.
Well,
before.
something else we did with the water lines is we pulled them up after we put these in that year, and we started insulating them. Because so many people said, as you start to put the heat line in, oh, you can see on the ground where it's heating, and both of us were like, well, why would we get rid of all of that heat into the ground and just waste it? So we dug up the ones to the winter cabins where you have the heat trace and the ones where we live, and we insulated them inside of a box with plastic, and then filled it with foam. And we've had electrical people come up, and we're about the only people that you can't tell that we're running heat trace. the snow stays on the ground. So that helped cut back on how much electricity we were actually using to heat the water to get them into the cabins.
So, yeah, that's the crew putting them up, and, we had, the Fro brothers from Cook, Minnesota, who are, they install, wells, and they had a machine, and they came up, and that's a 12-inch piece of steel pipe, so
I got
about this big. And what they did is they came up on the rock and took their auger bit, their drill, because they drill in this country, so they have the right equipment, and they dug that down 10 feet into the ground.
wow.
And then they came and then they cemented it. And so it is in there. And Sun Energy, Jerry
Jerry
Lilliard is the person that he's a big advocate of that style of ray system. Because we see them on the ground, we see them on buildings, we see them on this and that. He was very negative towards putting it on the roofs. And that day that Denise and she was out on the winter solstice, and that's right in that time. Well, we went to Tom Strom's, and I had to call Tom, and I go, Tom, remember where you said to put the solar panels on the outfitting building? Yeah. Well, there's no sun there on December 21st. It's dark. It's like the darkest place on the resort. And so we had to go back there, and Jerry came back, and he was kind of an advocate of building it more into the resort system, like Denise was saying.
Me too.
But back here, I said, well, we'll just cut this. He goes, well, that's at least 2 acres. You can't do that. And I go, well, Ely has loggers. I said, they'll come and cut this. But actually, Denise and I and a couple different folks over the course, we went up and cut them, and we did a lot of the work ourselves. We were renting from J&L here with their little mini excavator and put in the road and knocking down trees, and it was really, really a fun project. Yeah, it
Well,
was,
now all the
it was a
loggers,
lot of work, but I got to get out there on the machines,
and all the loggers, they took the wood, and the other excavators wanted to come down and knock down all the trees, pile them up in a pile,
Yeah,
and just leave them like all of our houses are when they first get here. So wasn't happy with that, and so I went up and started cutting and dropping trees and separating them out by the style of trees that they were. So the maples, the oak that we have up there, we put in a pile so we can reuse it for branches, for railings, for shelving inside of the cabins. We have to be really self-sufficient up there, and I didn't want to just let it rot onto the ground. So, when you walk up there, there's still piles of stuff that we need to use.
go ahead and click.
I have a question. You said that your friend was a proponent of that solution. Was it because of the location, or was it because of the sun, or was it because of not being visible, or why was he a proponent? Was it more
Yeah,
efficient?
that's his style. He
Okay,
likes getting them up and in the air. And is there one that looks like this in here, Barb?
I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
If you put it on the roof and you never
Oh,
need to
is that it there?
re-roof,
No, one
you
more.
have to
There's
take it all
or is
off.
that?
Plus, you gotta get up there and clear the panels if you
Plus
have the solar to get up. So
Yes.
how dangerous is that to
One
climb
more,
up on your
no.
roof?
yes.
This
Oh,
is
yeah.
still tough to
Right
get up
there.
and clean, but
Right
you just
there.
put a bunch
Perfect.
of
Thank
poles
you.
together, and there's about a month and a half that the snow doesn't automatically slide off because the glass creates energy. And so it'll stick to it and you get ice. So all of December and about 2 weeks into January, I have to go up and scrape them. Then after that, I can walk up all the rest of the time until everything melts and it's so cold that it gets on there and then it just slides off. And so I can go up there on some days and there'll be 3 inches, 6 inches even, barely holding on, because now they lay more flat to grab, or now they're laying more flat, but in the winter they're more upright. And then at that time, you can just tap the metal part at the very top and all the snow comes sliding down, so
So,
put on your helmet and everything.
so you have a movable?
They tilt.
How-
And that, to answer
We
your
physically
question
tilt
too,
them.
that's why he's a proponent of that. Because when you get on your rooftop solar,
Oh,
it's kind of at a,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
your, whatever your pitch is, right?
Okay.
And that's where it is, and it's not gonna change. And it's hard to get up on the roof and clean it.
Yeah.
Versus these, you can see, like Denise was saying, they're standing almost straight up because the sun is lower in the sky in our winter month. And then if you back it up, Barb, let's see if we can see, let's go another one, other way. Keep
So-
going.
You have an automatic?
There
type
you
that-
see, yes, well, there's a switch.
Okay.
There's a toggle there, and you can see that one, see how it sits straight up? That's an extreme, but in the summer, you know, on June 21st, right, our sun's, it's,
Right up.
Yeah.
right, and so you go up there and there's a
Is that-
toggle switch and it keeps moving and you.
Is that automatic? Does it,
No, manual.
okay, what do you do it, once a month or every? couple
Yeah,
months?
couple
Really
times.
twice a year.
Okay.
Just move them in and out.
You must have a lot of wind loading on those things.
Wind loading.
Yeah.
We're in a pretty quiet little area, so it's nice that we don't.
Where that is.
Plus, they're facing south, so the prevailing winds in this country is from the west, so.
Goes across.
But if we had a big south wind, it would be a lot.
You could put them flat, I suppose, or almost flat.
Yeah. Yeah, the different angles.
So how many square feet is it we got here?
I don't know, I should know that. It's a,
Several hundred.
Those
square
panels are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 feet across, or 20 feet high and 4, 8, 12, 24 long.
feet. Okay,
so
so
four,
200 square feet on each one, or
Little over.
Yeah, probably big.
480 per unit, and we have 5 units.
Have you had any failures?
No,
Any what?
Failures.
no.
All your panels work.
They've all been working.
Brandon, we just hit 1 year, so I hope they are still working.
That's a warranty off now.
Right.
Got it.
And 80% is that's about as good as they get so far with solar panels, right?
Right, yeah.
Oh,
It's
how
in
long
that
do the
number.
batteries last?
10 years,
10 years,
yeah,
like the cars.
yeah.
And that's why we put them inside, keep the room constant temperature. We didn't like the heating systems they have here, and so Dan, being from Alaska, we put in a Toyotomi heater, and it just gives nice, comfortable heat in the entire room versus propane, which to me is a little cold since I was
what's this,
raised
what's
on
this
wood.
way told me, what that, does that use propane or what does that use?
Toyotomi uses #1 diesel,
Oh, okay.
and it just is wonderful.
Doesn't-
It was almost plug and play. So Toyotomi, they're not here in the Midwest, and I don't know why. I ordered mine from Pennsylvania. But when you go to Alaska, every old salt out in the bush, they have their Toyotomi heaters. Because electricity not required. They have battery system and that's with if you want. And they just, it's like, you know, the old kerosene burners that we have here, fuel oil burners.
Junker
It's the same,
stoves.
but there's no odor, there's no nothing, it just burns so clean. Toyotomi, yeah, I was really pleased with that. Go ahead and grab another.
I have another question.
Yes.
How far is it from your solar panels to your battery to where you actually use the power? Is that a constraint in the system somehow?
I'm gonna say a football field at least. From where our panels are,
Yeah,
yeah, to where it goes into that
at
building there.
least 300-400 feet, it's quite a wide, and so this runs into the generator room. And then the generator room is right next to the, outfitting room where the batteries are.
So,
add,
I mean, it's low voltage, high current when it comes out
That's-
of the
that's
panels,
correct.
right? And so it's very
That's right.
lossy
Yeah.
until you get it high voltage, low current.
yeah,
These big conductors coming up to the,
Mm.
pretty big wires coming up from the panels.
Because for residential, they're saying that you wanna have the panels as close to your house as possible.
Yeah,
So is that different because it's got the batteries versus just the kind where?
ours was more a location of where we could put the panels and where we could house the batteries.
Okay.
So where we did it there, that was the closest place that we could be to the batteries on the entire property that got sun.
So, okay.
There's one other place, but the county or the state didn't want us putting any panels on anywhere
this,
in the main area where anybody would see,
See them.
because it's now considered a historic land.
Yep, oh.
right, so that
In
kind
some
of,
ways, yes. Other ways.
so that kind of brings us to the affordability.
Oh,
Right.
yes.
And so I worked with the USDA grant program, and I had a grant writer that we paid, and that grant writer was from Iowa. And in Iowa, they write a lot of USDA, right? United States Department of Agriculture. So there's lots of grant writers in Iowa, right in the breadbasket. And he wrote the entire proposition, I guess, to the USDA for us. And then we were granted that, and that was 40% of the cost.
How'd you get connected with that individual?
I just, you get on the internet and just started looking it up, and it's called the REAP program because we're in St. Louis County and we're in a low population area. There's a lot of benefits out there for individuals, and businesses.
Energy.
Area
Yeah,
program.
yep, rural energy, there's something, the REAP program, and it's rural energy. And so that went really well. But it took it was a long process. It wasn't easy, and we had to go back and keep presenting. And what happened is, so I originally had contacted Duluth. Who's the people out of Duluth that we originally talked to? Wolf Track.
Well, yeah, okay.
And I really liked, and what they did for us is, and they didn't ever come out for a site visit, but it was all online, and we went through the numbers. We went through the payback. We went through the kilowatt requirements. We went through everything, and there's a sharp individual there, and my hat's off to him. And he gave us a complete bid to work with. And that is the first step of applying for a grant, is you have to have a certified bid ready to go in. And Ralph, you know this, you're a numbers guy, and you need to have your presentation ready. So then we filed that with them. But then what happened along the way, and I was telling you the story about Tom Strom, and we found out, and this was all based on putting a couple panels in the air, some on the roof. We were going to do that, but then December 21st came, and we're like, oh my goodness, there's no sun here. And it's like, now we have to go back to the drawing board. And now Denise and myself, we call it Solar Ridge. We're like, well, there's a lot of sun up here. Then we had to convince the installer that, this is a good idea. And like you had said earlier, it was farther away, so you got voltage drop going down. And he said, but we're going to have this huge system. So now we had to go back to the drawing board and redo everything. So now the grant process with that got put the brakes on. And then about that time, we ran into another obstacle. I can't quite remember how it went, but it was because you're always fearful of being denied. And we hadn't really been approved for anything, we were just applicants. And so we went through that. And then Wolf Track Energy, there was another person that wanted it, then a couple bids, people found out, and then we got another bid. And I kind of shifted gears and I said, well, we're gonna go with this different bid. And what that did for us, so I used a general licensed contractor with the state of Minnesota who had originally got me in contact with the grant system. And then Sun Energy, so he was like the installer. And they came out and I went from a 20-some K to a 38K system because of the savings. So we took the savings because the bid was $180,000. That's a significant amount of money. And we put, instead of reducing the bid, we stayed there and upped the power. And that was just a great move. I mean, everything fell into place. Then President Biden came out and he had IRA money. And I saw that, I was on the internet, right? Cause I'm like, oh, where else can I find some money? You know, well, you have to. Cause these little resorts aren't big money makers. So you really scrap it. And then I started talking to the IRA people and it ended up was a Minnesota state match. And they had the IRA money was a match program. And we got a hold of a gal, Bonnie Zupik, maybe some of you know her, she's from town here. She's our administrator for us and she got after that. And her and this other gal, and her name was Rodriguez or Hernandez, she was in St. Paul. She just took us under her wing and just said, oh, Daniel, this is so great. And she was all excited about our program. And they put in the match grant and they covered the other 60%.
Wow.
And I was like holding my breath. I'm like, are you sure? And
It was all
yes.
good until January of
Yeah,
last year.
so we're looking
Anybody
at
can
this.
understand that one.
Yeah, and then the IRRB called and they said, well, we're gonna donate too. And they bought a new generator. And we've been in the Iron Range resource paper for that and everything. So
I saw that.
it's really not our system. It's everybody in this room system.
Everybody that.
And everybody in state of Minnesota. And we just are so grateful. But what it really did, I think long term, it took this resort, which when Denise and I arrived, the folks before did a wonderful job. But it was starting to show a little wear and tear. And the reason being is because you can't pay 30, 40,000, 50,000 in fuel oil to run a resort. And I had talked to Lake Country Electric. I talked to them and they gave me a $500,000 proposal
To run power.
to run power.
Oh,
Not even all the way.
Yeah, I'm not into the house. So it was $500,000 and it was kind of but I kind of held their toes to the fire because they get a lot of tax benefits too as being our provider here. And I said, you have to, and they said, well, it'll just be years because it's the boundary waters
Oh, yeah.
and it's all Forest Service. And they said,
Well, you have a kind of a classic situation where it makes sense.
It-
You know, you're beyond there and you're not, it's to be, from the get-go, it's gonna be not hooked. It's gonna be non-coupled to the grid.
there is
And
no grid
winter-
ever.
winter is the
Right,
tough-
right.
Winter is the tough problem.
Yeah, and and so what this really did by all the good grant money that everybody pays taxes on, it really shored up that resort to move into the future. So it's been here 100 years and it'll be here another 100 years. And I've been involved in a lot of real estate and I understand it well. I learned it from my father. And I just hope that my dream, I guess you would say for this, is that it doesn't get developed. Because we just lost a resort by you, Fensky Lake Resort. They shut down last year and they sold off their cabins. So we displaced 100 and some families from coming to Ely. we're getting calls and so we don't wanna see that happen at this lodge, cause. And now the state of Minnesota they don't have it, they have it earmarked, you might say, not dedicated, but it's a historical preservation site. Kinda like the one that, Udovich has at the end. He has his on Lake One. And so it'll be there forever for everybody.
But the one like Penske Lake though, they did sell it, but they're not gonna allow it to be busted up. The people basically are gonna buy a cute little cabin, with a communal septic system and such. They're not gonna build, just put in a row of mansions there.
Yeah,
I
I don't know if
It's
y'all
been a lot
probably-
worse, I'm saying.
Yeah, but then it's one family versus 12 rentals.
Well, no, it would be several families would buy it.
Yeah, but I mean per cabin.
That's
So
true,
it won't
yeah.
be a resort.
That's true,
It's just a
that's a
cabin.
good point, yeah.
Yeah,
And then the money, kind of like the other place on the lake, the money does not stay in Ely or go to the people here, because the people that bought into that when it became a common interest community don't live around here, don't
Right.
live in the state, and they don't visit. So they get the money from the rentals when the people show up there, and they take it home to wherever they're at, which is good for them, but
yeah.
bad for our location.
Yeah.
But so for solar, it really worked out, so. Up here, live data and tracking, that just kind of shows you there. Oh, what is that saying? We're
The
at
left is-
55% on
That's
the
where-
bottom left green on
That's battery
battery
charge.
power. And, the array is pumping in 12,962 watts.
So
And this is
And
only one of our inverters. So you've got to double it because each inverter runs 5 of the panels by themselves. So the numbers you see on here to double, the purple up on the right is the electricity that we'd be using if we needed to pull it out of the system. And down on the bottom right is what, since we're not using or down on the bottom right is what's going into the houses or the
Yeah.
cabins. Up on the top is if we had it going from, using the generator to charge the batteries.
Yeah, that's why it says 0. So again, the yellow is 12,000, but you have to multiply it by 2, because we're only looking at one inverter. So we're pumping, so the array, when we took this picture, is pumping out 24 kW. The batteries, the green, we have 55% left in the batteries. And in the red, we're only using 1,800, but double that would be 3,600 watts. So, yeah. I tell you what we discovered is in the summer, we don't, so to talk about that, so what does it do for us? In the winter, we run the generator about 4 or 5 hours a day from December 15th to February 15th, Denise, about 2 months in the winter.
Depending on how
About
many.
5 hours a day.
Depending on if you get some sunny days or not, you mean.
We don't
Yeah.
get sunny days at that time of the year. Come on, we don't.
It's a bit of a challenge, but you think about it, because it's only 4 or 5 hours a day
Yeah.
is what we're
That,
running.
that.
And we're using our, like the red one there would be up to like 12K, because we're running all the
Right.
heat lines in the water, so we're really we're heavy users that time of year.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
like everybody up here.
Yeah. Right now, we haven't turned it on. The generator has not turned on for about a month and a half. What is it, April? So February, March, yeah, about a month and a half, coming up on 2 months, I haven't turned it on. Because we're not heating the lines as much, so we're not using as much. Yeah,
In the summer, do you get into a situation where you're generating more energy than you can either use or store in your batteries?
yeah.
So
And we can't feed it back to the grid, because we're not on the grid.
That's a good point.
But we have a couple EV vehicles. They come in, can I plug in there? Go ahead.
Market that to your visitors if they can.
So a little, So we were spending over 30,000 a year on fuel. Today,
That was before the war.
that was before the war. Yeah, right, that was probably about 50,000 right now. Today, we cut that down to under 4,000, so a 20 plus $1,000 savings. And nearly, almost 30,000 really, but while eliminating, here's a 75 tons of emissions.
Very good.
Well, I mean, that's the key, that's
Yeah.
another win. There's a lot of winning going on with this whole program. You know, from really saving the resort and just a lot of winning. Yeah, it was 152,000 pounds of CO, I believe. So 76 tons.
That's amazing.
That's the win. So you can see collectively, a lot of people were involved and it wasn't a team of one. So, yeah, thank you. So, yeah,
Do you get people who come to your resort in order to see the solar panels and the batteries and learn how to do it essentially?
No, not really. We've had a couple people that have come because they've seen the articles. And then we have, like, when I was at Canoecopia, talking with people that they're interested. So why not in some of our shoulder seasons, spring and fall, set up times to let's get you green. Let's get your own house, whether you live in the middle of a city or, you know, in the country. Come up. It's much easier to do than you think. You know, we dealt with the whole, solar isn't going to work. It's all a gimmick and panels don't last and this and that. And you can't do, you know.
Yeah, we heard it all.
Now we've got to tell everybody, well, you're wrong. It works and it works really well.
Yeah, but we have people, Barb, that they're like, oh, well, right now we are Minnesota's most remote off-grid solar powered resort in the state of Minnesota, bar none. It used to be Sawbill was way up there, but they plugged into the grid. Yeah, the Gunflint, they ran the grid. We'll never get the grid. So, yeah, I think the last one, let's see. No, there's one of our college students. We're so proud of all that. There it is. And we have a lot of college students that come out and work out at the Whispering Pines. Yeah. And then the next one, I think, is the last one. There's Denise. And Denise, I'll tell you, she's been working, well, just diligently on all of it. It's been a lot of work out there, but it's good work too. So that's it.
I like that idea of having a drilling rig coming and carving a 12-inch pipe into the ground.
Yeah, he called it
That sounds like a real serious.
yeah, they're island hopper. Because when they go out to Lake Vermilion and they're gonna drill a well, they have a little machine and it's on tracks and they get it back in there and down it went. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you, everybody, very much for letting us.
Thank
We're very happy.
You can look.